there was this lady that contacted me from Canada. She wanted to put her story out to a certain organization, just because of on private notes. I would not mention her name, but I'll mention the name of the platform. That's Al Jazeera, which I'm also part of. And when I read through her story, I realized that the story I shared impacted the life of that lady in a very fantastic way. This is what brands must learn to do. Forget about how powerful your product is. The true test of how powerful your product is in the number of times you have been in the streets, the number of times you've been in the marketplace. Tell us your story. Where have you been? Where did you start from? I started my public speaking training from my mom's shop during those days in the university.
I will be happy, for example, if because Izu is here talking to you, that Izu call me later because he is also having a lot of program related to storytelling and communication. That you like what he's doing, you call him and you do business with him. And Izu happened to tell me, hey, listen, the room we did that day, I got some people that called me, I have made business out of that. That is how to be customer-centric. In that the person you are talking to should be at the center of the conversation. It must benefit the person. It must relate to the person. Or you must make the story relatable so that the person can say, what you are saying make me remember this, that, and that.
You know, when I came on LinkedIn, Mr. Obehi, I said it, I'm here, I'm not up to 3 months, and it's crazy. I have never been on, I never took LinkedIn seriously. I opened the account in 2017, I don't know, but I never took it seriously. But I became more serious, not up to 3 months now. So I started putting out some information about me, how I went to a bank to train. I was invited by a bank to train the bank on some professional courses. I didn't have suits to go. My colleagues wore suits, but I didn't have anyone. I was the major person training, but I didn't have money to buy suits. I didn't have money to buy new shoes.
I understand that you understand the importance of storytelling. That is why you are here. You are leaving everything you are doing to listen to what you have to share with you today. And I'm not taking that lightly at all. Yeah, so we are to try to do everything we can to make sure that you have good value for this time that you are putting in here. And I'm very happy about that. All right. For those of you that do not know me, because I'm not a famous person, I'm just an ordinary guy here. Who like to create value for people, using storytelling in this case. My name is Obehi Ewanfoh, and I'm originally from Nigeria. I'm from the south of Nigeria, and I live in Verona. Verona is in the northern part of Italy. That is where I live. If you have read the book Romeo and Juliet, again, that is a story. The city where it's set, that is where I live. So the people of Verona sometimes I call refer to their city as a city of light and love. So when I came here in 2004, I was sort of curious in that I was trying to understand the story of other people like me that I met here. By that I mean the people of African descent who found themselves in this city. And there were quite many. Of course, they still are today, even though a lot have actually relocated to other places like in the UK, US, and in Canada. I was trying to understand what has been their experiences because I've always been very passionate about this. If I could share with you, the very interview I did, which I want to refer to as my first podcast, was in the police station, and that was in Nigeria. And then I've just did a course in a secondary school. I think I was in JSS 2, if I'm not mistaken. In government, we did there was a lesson that was relating to the Harvard couple law on that when the police arrest somebody, The person is not supposed to be kept in the police custody for 24 hours without being charged. And as a young guy now, that was very interesting for me. So I wanted to understand it more. So when we finished from the lesson, instead of going home, I just walked straight to the police headquarters in Uromi. I said, I wanted to talk to the DPO, the Department of Police Officer. So when I got there, the policeman in front there saw me walking in. He thought I was a poster man, the guy who brings the poster. He said, "Give me the poster. I will give it to the DPO because I've told him I wanted to talk to the DPO." I said, "No, I'm not a poster serviceman. I'm a student. I want to interview the DPO." He said, "You?" As he was talking to me, the DPO just walked out of the office and he saw us talking and he said, "Hey, allow him to come in." Then I went inside. Then I really interviewed this guy. It was my very, very first interview and it was so interesting. I remember the DPO really spending a lot of time responding to all my curiosity. Now imagine a young person having that kind of courage to interview, not just the police officer of all, no? So I've always loved to learn from people, to hear from them. And of course, you have to go at a point because you know what the police usually do because there was a duty call, so he needed to respond and he told me to come back another day. So in this way, when I came to Verona, I was sort of interested in learning about the story of the people of Verona, okay, the African people of Verona, and to learn about their experiences. And what I've gathered from this experience over the years have made me understood, and see I'm understanding it today, the importance of storytelling, how storytelling can be very vital in everything we do. So last year, I decided that I was going to package this knowledge that I've gathered together and make it available for other people to also explore in their area. So that is how the storytelling series came about, which is a 5-part book series, which of course you can find on Amazon. And it's behind everything that I'm doing today. I've created a number of courses on it. And then we have this audio room. We have 3 of them actually. This one is strictly about business. We have another room which is about African diaspora because we believe that storytelling can be very instrumental in building our identity and as a community, as a people of African descent. Another one is just about learning the basis of storytelling. So it's really, as you can see, really is sort of at the centerpiece of everything I do today. And when it comes to my podcast, the Obehi podcast, storytelling is at the centerpiece of that too. And when I start the podcast, when the guests come in, I usually start by just telling them, tell me about you when you were small. You might think, well, that is a waste of time. Why are you talking about you when you were small? When we should just go straight to, hey, tell me about your business. Tell me about your politics. Tell me about your book or things like that. Based on where I'm coming from and based on my demography, I believe that people want to know that backstory. So storytelling, again, is at the centerpiece of everything because I believe it is powerful. But today, of course, we are going to be looking at the importance of customer-centric storytelling for business. In that, when we talk of telling story in business, I've said it a number of times, it's different from the cock-and-bull type of story. It's different from the story that you tell just to entertain the people. It's different from the story that you tell because you are in a train and you are sitting next to the person. You just want to share story to sort of, so that your mouth get busy. In storytelling for business, it is different in the sense that there is a clear objective. There must be clear objective. And if that is the case, the people you are telling this story to must be at the centerpiece of what you are talking about. Otherwise, you are talking to yourself because the people will not pay attention. And of course, I am honored to be here with an expert in storytelling and communication, the person I really respect a lot, who will be helping us to understand the dynamics of this aspect of storytelling today, which is pay attention to the customer, that the customer must be at the center of the equation. So this is where we are going to be starting the conversation today. And Izu, I really want to thank you so much for joining me. And I'm leveraging your presence here to be able to share value with the audience here. I'm not going to be introducing you because I believe you will do a better job on that. Please tell the people who you are and how they can also benefit from you. The mic is yours, my brother.
Thank you so much, Mr. Obehi, for the privilege to be on your platform today. I'd like to say greetings to all the beautiful people who can hear my voice. We're happy to have you here. I see Somya, I see Paula, Amber, George, Amand, Annabelle, we see Folake, Terman, Edna, Casey, Janet, Rick, we see Vanessa, Saravana, Sridaha, Anshaziri, Caroline, Ahmed, Lori, and Yusa. We're glad to have you here today. My name is Izu Samuel. I'm on assignment to help for 2023. I'm on assignment to help 500 people to be able to tell their stories, to share their stories across the globe. I am an Al Jazeera investigative journalist, and yeah, mostly anything you want to know about me is on my bio, but those are the two relevant information I thought to share with you people today. But essentially, the topic we have today is one that you don't want to miss. And we're not just going to be talking to ourselves up here on the stage. We want to also have you on the stage come, share your opinions, your ideas, and collaboratively we can be able to learn better ways to approach business, utilizing storytelling, and ensuring that the customers are truly impacted. So before I yield the mic to you, Mr. Obehi, lots of people have abused the concept of storytelling. Storytelling, according to research and the basis of how many times and years I've invested into it, I realized that it's categorized into 72 sectors. But the two sectors that are very close to people, you have the entertainment, you have the business, and then you have the motivation, inspiration, and then the education. But there are several other sectors about storytelling that make storytelling to be really deep. I like to tell people that storytelling is one of the biggest niches across the globe because all the products, all the services, every human being, we are all a product of storytelling. We are all a product of story. We are all a product of one story or many stories put together. So what I'm trying to say essentially is that in business, you cannot be in business without utilizing stories. You can't sustain the value proposition of your business without the value of communicating your stories. And one of the best ways to appreciate your audience, not just your audience, your customers, is to ensure that your customers are perceived as kings and queens connected to your business. And the easiest way to make that to be possible is when you share stories about these customers. So when that nexus is created between your business, your customers, and then the story, it's really possible and easy for your business to grow. So I just wanted to give this highlight as we jump at this conversation this evening. My name is Izu Samia once again, and I'm more than excited to be here. Mr. Obehi, back to you.
Thank you so much, Izu. I appreciate that. I appreciate that kind of a breakdown of what we are getting into so that people can understand the importance of storytelling because it's essential for whatever we are doing. You just cannot escape it if you are dealing with a human being. So that is really essential. I want to let us know that this room is recorded for the sake of those who are not here. That is our modus operandi here because we are fully into content creation and we like to share with people. The room doesn't end here. We want the conversation to go on. In fact, all our rooms are recorded and they are available on our YouTube channel for people to view and to listen. Otherwise, it ends here. We basically, because we are into storytelling, we believe that everything we do should be available for people to observe, for people to participate in. Even though a lot of people might not be here just now for their time constraint, many have sincerely begged us to make sure that we keep a copy for them so that they can also enjoy what we have enjoyed today. So that is the basis why we keep the record. So I just want to let you know that. Now, the first question for Izu will be this, and of course, is centered around the topic of today. What does it mean by customer-centric storytelling for business? What would you like to share with us as a kind of a basics for those who do not understand what is meant by that?
Yeah, so for someone who possibly may be asking himself what is customer centric storytelling, it has to do with projecting the experiences of your customers to with the intent to justify that you're offering a very relatable service and you're selling products that can be verifiable. Now, let me help you understand further. Every customer wants to be treated like a king and a queen, as a king and a queen. But most of these customers, they do not really know how to make that to be possible. But customers would always come back to your business when the customer knows that you appreciate them. And appreciation is not just about thank you for doing business with us. Appreciation is about the information that follows up. It is called follow up concept. So that is why storytelling for customer centric storytelling is that medium through which you project some of the successes you have recorded in transacting businesses with your customers, and how this is also positioned would also change the narrative or not. Many times people just present a certain degree of the testimonies, the stories, without providing very strategic information through the story to potential clients, existing clients, and the network that the business you're doing connects to. Now, what I'm trying to say is this: when businesses understand the power and the force of customer centric storytelling, many small businesses will spring up. Many small businesses would bounce back with, to the level that they will be recognized and appreciated. I'm going to give you a very good example to justify my definition. An example would be what happened with I wanted to use Elon Musk, but let me use Tony Elumelu. So when Tony Elumelu was about to, when he wanted to take over Transcorp and all of those, the first thing he did was to do what is called Genesis storytelling, or let me use a familiar word, traditional storytelling. So he had conversations through the media with most of the clients, customers here and across the globe. So it was like a 30 seconds conversation, and stories were created out of that experience. And beyond those customers, the next thing he did was that he had conversations with the existing staff at the time. And those conversations were translated into stories. Now that product was developed. Now, when he reviewed all of those information, the products he developed out of having those conversations, he now saw a very deep lacuna, like he saw deep lacuna existing in the business. He saw opportunities in the business. He saw lots of opportunities in the business, millions and billions of shares that can be sold. He saw the gap between the customers, the institution, the business. He saw lots of opportunities when those conversations eschewed. Now, what he now did was to collate a new team that came up with solutions, ideas that would address those, loopholes. And the way they did it was very simple. The team they collated, what they did was to come up with ideas, and then those ideas were presented to the existing customers, to the existing staff, in a way that lots of opportunities were also seen in the new business proposition provided by the organization. And although some of them left, some of them stayed back. Now, the next strategic thing they did with those stories was that they projected those stories to potential clients. That was at the point where the business became a modern, successful, within a short time of a year or less than 6 months. They attracted lots of investors. They attracted lots of people that wanted to put in their money in the business. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to share here is very simple. In customer centric storytelling, You must learn how to talk about where the business has been and now talk about the solutions that the business now has. And at that point, you can then create another segment in the stories that has to do with the successes that you have recorded. If you can pass through these three segments in storytelling as it relates to customers and your business, you will be able to connect to clients without stressing yourself. You will be able to attract investors into your business without having to break the bank. The idea is very simple. People buy on the basis of emotions, and customer centric storytelling builds a connection, an emotional connection between the customers and the business proposition that any given organization runs, be it a personal brand or a corporate brand. Over to you, Mr. Obehi.
Thank you so much for that, Izu. And of course, here we are putting the people at the center of the narration, that it is about the people, it's not about us. The other day, I was organizing a room like this. Then I invited some guests, whom, of course, I interview. And then after the meeting, she sent me a message telling me, "Hey, Obehi, you didn't know. Because of the meeting because of the interview that we did here, I got 3 people contacting me for my business. And one of them have already signed up for my program. That is my joy. I am really, really very happy that because you are here, you benefit, you leverage the opportunity that is available here. That is essentially about how simple it can be when it is customer centric. It's not about me, that I am the one that organized this room. It's going to be about me. It's going to be, you're going to buy only my book. No, that is not what it is. I will be happy, for example, if because Izu is here talking to you, that Izu call me later because he is also having a lot of program related to storytelling and communication. That you like what he's doing, you call him and you do business with him. And Izu happened to tell me, "Hey, listen, the room we did that day, I got some people that called me. I have made business out of that." That is how to be customer centric. In that the person you are talking to should be at the center of the conversation. It must benefit the person. It must relate to the person. Or you must make the story relatable so that the person can say, what you are saying make me remember this, that, and that. That is the connection. And I feel that when we do that, like Izu says, many businesses will not only spring up, but they will survive. Because people are the brain behind the business. If we cannot serve the people, or if we cannot make them understand that we are there for them, we can as well fold up in our business. But before I ask Izu a question related to emotional connection in storytelling, I would like to ask you something before that, Izu. Because I like the way you talk, I like the way you are able to articulate it very brilliantly and enticingly. Would you want to share with me? Pretend that I'm asking the question because there is somebody in the room or somebody who is going to listen to this recording after who is asking, how can I learn to be like Izu? So I want you to share with me, was there a time that you didn't know how to tell story the way you do today? What did you do about that to be able to grow your ability to tell story? So that today we are talking of customer-centric story and you are ironing it out beautifully. Help me understand that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Obehi, for that brilliant question. I talk about story because I got many stories. I came from an environment many years ago. I had fantastic ideas to share. I wanted my voice to be heard. I had great, great ideas. But my environment made me to believe that my voice never was deserving to be heard. So whenever I wanted to say a word, I would always see people within my environment who want to shoot me, who want to shut me down. My teachers, my uncles, My environment never gave me that opportunity to express myself. In fact, during those early days in the university, I participated in an art exhibition competition and I emerged as one of the champions. And the vice chancellor invited me, invited all the coordinators because they wanted to send me out on international basis to compete. I realized, I still recall that when I walked into the professor's office, the vice chancellor's office, I wasn't able to express myself. They asked me questions that I knew the answers, but I couldn't speak. After that single day, I felt so ashamed of myself. But beyond feeling so ashamed of myself, that night, I took a decision that I would be a great speaker. That decision changed everything about me. I went on YouTube, started doing some researches. I got to know about Dale Carnegie. I signed up for Dale Carnegie's program some years ago. And beyond signing up, I started participating in my debate club those days in school. And from being a low speaker, I became one of the leading speakers as a debater who did in British parliamentary system of debate, Karl Popper, Abraham Lincoln style of debate, many debates that we did those days. And from there, I got into the media, got promoted, and it has been all about growth. The reason I had to share this short story is that you can't be a powerful storyteller, both as a business, as an individual, without understanding what your story is, because your story gives you voice. Your story solidifies your voice. Your story is what enables people to believe in what you say. In fact, storytelling is one of the most effective forms of communications. And so I developed myself because beyond knowing what to say, how you say what you know is essential to impacting the lives of people, both as a storyteller and communications industry. Mr. Obehi, I've not been on LinkedIn for a very long time. I've not been on LinkedIn for close to 3 months, but just days ago, LinkedIn recognized me as one of the top voices in my industry, in my niche. So I believe that anything that is worth doing is worth doing well. If you want to be a great storyteller, you've got to work on it. You've got to develop it. You've got to go to trainings and be the best version of it. Thank you, Mr. Obehi, and back to you, my friend.
Thank you so much for that. That story is very powerful. And I believe that the audience understand what I mean by that. Because now we're looking at the human connection. This is what I take away from story like this. When we say connect to a human being, when you tell a story that make other people feel something inside of them, you are sort of breaking down the wall that usually hold up when you are talking to somebody. Now, let me give you an instance of what I mean. A couple of years ago, I did a course here in Verona, the city where I am. Of course, at the time, I didn't even have money. The course was going to take me 3,000 euro. And I'm the guy that don't even have much money, but I so much love the course. I went to the bank and I borrowed the 3,000 euro and I paid for it. And of course, the course would take, things. If I really put the days together, it would be like about 10 days. And it was really very good for me. Now, what I want to say about that is that by the time you keep working on yourself, by the time you keep developing yourself, you become a different type of you. You become a different version of you. Then you become almost irresistible because now you have worked on yourself. So I really want to thank Izu for that story that you shared there. Because by the time you understand the instrument to be able to connect with people, then it becomes very exciting for you. And one of the things that I learned about my course, because it had to do with the selling of insurance at the time, was that when you go to sell something, okay, when you enter into a house, if you were to maybe go to sell a computer, it's one thing. The person will see it in front of you. Okay, I don't like that color. Give me the other color and all of that. But what about when you're going to sell an invisible product? which of course is what most of us do these days, because you have a course there. The person doesn't yet understand the importance of taking on that course. You are going to make him or her understand it. Naturally, when you enter into a house of somebody, if you are doing door to door or you are doing cold calling, the person naturally have a wall set up, because he or she knows that you are going to sell something, you are going to propose something, you are going to change his or her mind, change his or her opinion about something, which whatever happened at the end of the day, the intention is that you are going to give him or her something, and he or she is going to give you something, but which usually is money. And because this is, we are very sophisticated as species, as human beings, it is natural that that person have a war set up, because I want to defend myself, because the money is for my family, the money is for this, the money is for that, so I'm not going to give it to this guy, I'm not going to give it to her. But there is a way you can penetrate that. In our sales at the time, they call it small talk. That when you enter into the house, you don't just start by saying, hey, come and get life insurance. The person is not going to get it. You are going to lose. But you're going to start with, what if you start with, hey, how are you doing? You realize that the person have a dog. Maybe you are not the best dog lover in the world, but at least it doesn't mean that if you are not a dog lover, then you must be a dog hater. There is a way you can play with the dog that the person understand that you come with a good intention to this house. The person you might begin to have a kind of an ordinary rapport that go a little bit deeper and deeper at each level that you move into. Up until this time, you have not said anything about insurance. You have not said anything that I want to sell you something. You are just doing the normal conversation, just talking. Until you get to a point, the person might even be the one to tell you, you tell me, what can I do for you? Because the person cannot tell you what does it cost, things like that, if the wall is still set up. Because the intention is to send you away. But you must get to the point of being able to penetrate the wall and go to the other side of it. The instrument that work here, that I've always worked, is a story. And this type of story must put the person at the center of it. Like, for example, what is your dream? What is your vision for the future? This person have a child or have children. What are you thinking about them? They are going to school. Because there is no parent who will not listen to you when you start bringing those positive talk relating to their future, to their children. If you can, at that moment, put them at the center of the narration, it becomes easier for you. What is going to happen at the end of the day is not selling. It becomes easier for you. So that is why I think storytelling is very vital, because it's what helps us to connect beyond just data, beyond just number, beyond just a man or a woman or children. It connects you and the person together, because you connect at the level of emotion. And that is where I really want to take my next question to. I don't know what you would like to say about that, Izu, about how to connect emotionally to your customer if what we are looking for is to be customer-centric. Help me with that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Obehi, for those fantastic questions. It's been interesting questions so far, and they are very generic questions. So if you want to connect emotionally with people, the first thing you need to do is to be yourself, is to ensure that your business is relatable. And I was in a certain event in Clubhouse. For those of you who are on Clubhouse, I am one of the moderators on one of the biggest platforms. This morning we had over 300 people in the room, and I was talking about the importance of storytelling. And someone asked a question some time ago, so what do you understand by relatability in storytelling? And I said to the person, relatability is when you say something or talk about a product in a way that a 5-year-old can understand it and a 50-year-old can understand it. If a 5-year-old can understand it and a 50-year-old can't understand it, then that story is not relatable. You can't connect to people when you are not relatable. And that, when I say be yourself, I'm saying be relatable. Because someone in Africa who wants to sell a product to someone in Canada must share a story that someone in Canada would have to be able to understand without cracking their head or their skull. And this is possible when you understand the concept and the psychology of relatability in storytelling. The second thing businesses must pay attention to if they want to truly connect to their clients or their customers, right, is to build excitement in their stories. There was a recent documentary which was released by Apple. Those information, if you read them, like you sit down and read them from Excel sheet, you're gonna get tired. I hate Excel sheets a lot. I hate it. But those information were presented to us through story, and it was wow. It was beautiful. It was exciting. And they launched it, and then they launched the iPhone 15. And people are buying an iPhone 15 already. And I can't wait to get my own. So it is important for any person who is running a business here, personal brand, corporate brand, you must be able to learn how to create excitement with your products and your services. You can do this by short videos, you can do this by fantastic write-ups, you can do this by, drama, you can do this by, using some sort of newsletters, blasting newsletters that can relate to people. But the best option that works is using a video. Using a video. When you use a video, you keep it very simple and sweet. And the next advice I would give is you must learn how to involve what is called conflict in the stories that you project concerning your product. You see, I've come to realize that empathy is possible when you infuse conflicts. Conflict resolution and analogy in storytelling is what attracts the attention of your audience, of your potential clients. So when you use conflicts, people want to know, okay, what next? Okay, what next? Okay, what next? And the more they want to know more, the more you're taking them down to the empathy part of your story. Because if your story lacks empathy, then that story is just a chaotic information. It has to communicate some sense of empathy, because that is essentially what would help people to play alongside with your story. And the next idea I'm going to share because of time is you must learn to be vulnerable in your storytelling. I've seen a lot of write up on LinkedIn. People write a lot of information on LinkedIn, very smart details on LinkedIn. People say a lot of things. But I've also seen fantastic information and write ups and stories devoid of vulnerability. Vulnerability in storytelling, in business, emotional management is very important. And let me help you understand vulnerability in a moment. So, when you embrace vulnerability in your story, it is important to share personal experiences of your product concerning your customers. If you sell one product, ensure that you ask politely for your clients to give you a feedback. The feedback could be in the form of a video, the feedback could be in the form of a write-up, the feedback could be in the form of a picture, but ensure that there is a feedback, because the feedback mechanism is so important that it would help you to be able to tell your story or share your story with some sense of vulnerability. And I'll help you to understand that better. So when you have some information from your clients or your customers, the next thing you need to infuse is that you need to infuse the why of your business in your story. Why did you start the business? Why did you write that book? Why are you known as a communicator? Why are you in the marketing space? Why did you, how did you become a graduate? How did you become a first class graduate? How did you get to where you are right now? So when you infuse that aspect of your story and bring in the information from your clients, from your customer, what happens is that it automatically attracts the right set of clients and customers to your business. The reason people struggle to sell is that they don't understand the concept of emotions in storytelling. If you just talk about what your client said, is not enough. But if you bring in your why and combine it with what your customer is saying, and then there is a call to value, not call to action. Once you put such information or content online, you will attract the right clients. In fact, I'm running away from people coming to me to want to learn storytelling. I'm running away, Mr. Obehi. I think it was on your call. Someone sent me a message and I just responded, sent the person a link. The person sent me $900 immediately to get enrolled for my course, one of my advanced courses on storytelling. So when you know what you are doing in terms of combining these two subjects in storytelling, you're going to become an irresistible product or service that people want to connect to. Nobody is immune to emotions. I'm going to say that again. Nobody is immune to emotions. And understanding how to thrive utilizing emotions causes your business to fly beyond your environment, your country, and your continent. Over to you, Mr. Obehi.
Thank you so much for that, Izo. That is the thing that I really want to hear. When I can see people getting positive feedback for being here. And that is also what we mean by being customer-centric. In that if you put a product out there, you need to look at the only reason you put it out there is the people that are going to get the product. I don't remember who said it. I don't know if it was Jim Rohn or N9 Giada said, you need to give the people what they want, and they will give you your money that you are looking for. But if money is what you are asking for, you're not going to get it. Because I said before that people attach a lot to money. But the only way you are going to dispossess them of that money, of course with value, is that you are going to tell story. Because story is powerful. Now, I want to share a story with you. Of course, we are doing storytelling. This might not necessarily be business story, but let's take a cue from history. Now, you know Germany, no? I do share this story a lot because I want people to understand the importance of story. Up until the beginning of the war, say maybe in 1935, in 1913 and thereabout, do you know that the people that will later become victims of Nazi Holocaust, they were living among the Germans as friends, as husbands, as neighbors, as co-workers, as people working in the gas station, in the bank, and in different other places? There was no problem. But do you know that it took one man to change that story? And the next day, these people were no longer seen as human beings, as neighbors, as husbands, as wives, as co-workers, as the guy at the gas station, as the guy the other day who was attending to you in the bank. They were seen as objects, as enemy that needed to be killed. I don't need to remind you what happened. You know the story. Now, story again can be very powerful in the military because the military tacticians are going to build the image of an enemy. How do you do that? Because up until yesterday, we were friends. You were going to the next neighbor. You were basically having fun, doing things together. We are not enemy. But wait, tomorrow, let's see what happens. By the time we are exposed to story, something happens, something click in our head. And I want to just repeat that this thing that click in your head is not positive or negative, it's purely neutral. So storytelling is neutral, but whatever you want to result depends on you. What do you do with the story? How do you condition the mind of the person you are telling the story to? That is why storytelling is highly valuable in the work of psychologists. If you take storytelling out of the work of the people who are called psychologists, I don't think they will even do that. They will not be able to do their work. Because one day I was interviewing a psychologist, I was saying, listen, you tell me, because I've interviewed hundreds of people and I continue to do, I love it. It's one of the things I love a lot. I just sit there and I'm listening. How do you make somebody to change his or her mind? How do you penetrate the mind of the people? Have you ever watched maybe a film, okay, let's say a serial film where the police is trying to get into the mind of the criminal? Do you think they would just go there and hit him on his head and they will get the information? No. It's true story. True story, like I was saying before, small talk, you are going to gradually open several doors into the mind. Now, imagine if you can do the same in your business, putting the people at the center of the narration. Because if you can work for the Nazis, if you can work for the CIA and the KGB, if you can work for the army, if you can work for the politicians, if you can work for the imam and the reverend fathers and the pope, why can't it work for you? So storytelling is the most powerful instrument there is. But it will never work for you until you know how to make it work for you. Because storytelling in itself is neutral. It's just like electricity. It's not good or bad. If you light the electricity bulb, it is positive. But put your hand on the cable, then you will understand whether it is positive. I'd like to ask another question, Izu. Because we are talking of how to put the customer at the centerpiece of our conversation, and I'm trying to say, because you also made mention of Apple just now, and this big industry like Tesla, who have become giant, they've become more than life in our current narration. And again, it's not because they have a lot of money that they're able to do that. It's because they know how to navigate the human connection that they're able to do that. It's like what Wallace was saying in his book, The Science of Getting Rich. When you are trying to when you are in business, you want to make money or you want to get rich, you don't say, I don't have money. Because if you have money, then you don't need to be rich because it means you already have money. If you want to be rich, what you need is an idea. If you get the right idea, there is a lot of people that have a lot of money. They don't even know what to do with the money. But they're not going to give you the money. I repeat again, small talk. If you get to them, are you able to convince them to make them change their mind? Because that is the essence of the story that you are telling. You are telling somebody's story because you want to trigger something in the person's mind. And if you do it rightly, because it works for many other dimensions in our human society, it will work. If it haven't worked for you, it means you haven't know how to do it yet. So keep learning. So to Izu, and because we are talking of customer centricity, can storytelling also be used to build trust and credibility? And how will one approach that in the area of business? What would you say about that?
Yes, storytelling is a symbol of credence, is a symbol of certainty, is a symbol of clarity, is a symbol of authority. It reflects reality because obviously you cannot share stories consistently that are fake without people getting to know what exactly is the right information. So if you want people to trust you more, you need to tell them where you're coming from, where you have been, and where you're going to with your product. That is one of the implementative values and strategies in storytelling. There are 4 million search queries per minute. 1,388 blog posts are published every now and then. Facebook users share close to over 3.3 million pieces of content, 205 million emails sent, 400 hours of video uploaded to YouTube. Twitter uses nearly 422,340 times. Instagram users post nearly 55,555 new photos. The entirety of the world is saturated. It is difficult to trust people now. It is difficult for investors to put their money on your ideas. So the easiest way to gain the trust of your investors, the easiest way to gain the trust of your partners and your team members is to tell them, look, I'm not just coming here. I've been an old bird, here and here and here. You know, when I came on LinkedIn, Mr. Obehi, I said it, I'm here, I'm not up to 3 months, and it's crazy. I have never been on, I never took LinkedIn seriously. I opened the account in 2017 or thereabout, but I never took it seriously. But I became more serious, not up to 3 months now. So I started putting out some information about me, how I went to a bank to train. I was invited by a bank to train the bank on some professional courses. I didn't have suits to go. My colleagues wore suits, but I didn't have anyone. I was the major person training, but I didn't have money to buy suits. I didn't have money to buy new shoes. I didn't have money for all of those things. When I put the information out, there was this lady that contacted me from Canada. She wanted to put her story out to a certain organization, just because of on private notes. I would not mention her name, but I'll mention the name of the platform. That's Al Jazeera, which I'm also part of. And when I read through her story, I realized that the story I shared impacted the life of that lady in a very fantastic way. This is what brands must learn to do. Forget about how powerful your product is. The true test of how powerful your product is in the number of times you have been in the streets, the number of times you've been in the marketplace. Tell us your story. Where have you been? Where did you start from? I started my public speaking training from my mom's shop during those days in the university. I will be a sales boy and I'll be a public speaking trainer. Those days I won some tournaments in the university. Customers will come, I'll sell to them, I'll gather 20 students in the big hall and I'll just be teaching them, speak this way, speak that way. I never knew that I was doing something that would give me the access, the opportunity to train people all over the globe. You know something, ladies and gentlemen, one of the people I trained in that hall, my mom's shop, those days in the university, eventually gained admission to study in Harvard. And that was the opportunity I had. The first time I trained Harvard students was as a result of my relationship those days in the university. The big question I'm going to ask personal brands and corporate brands is, where have you been? Because if you don't know where you have been, nobody is ever going to trust you with their money. Nobody is ever going to trust you with their resources. You got to tell us where you have been. And you need to show us pictures. You need to show us videos. This is why I tell people, be intentional about your growth. Because you can't justify growth without evidence. Else, you go explain, tire. Kai. Over to you, Mr. Obehi.
Thank you so much for that. I see you're trying to put in some Nigerian things there. Thank you so much for that, Izu. You see, when you take a case to a court, a proper and functioning court, all you need to be able to win is the evidence. Because if there is an evidence, you don't need to explain anymore. So another thing also that I think that is important, why storytelling must be leveraged, must absolutely be leveraged all the time, is that if you can use story in your business, you don't need to explain. But if you don't, then you need to explain everything like Izzo is saying. And who have the time to listen to all your explanation? What if you are not in the right mood at that time? You're going to lose that time, at least for that time's sake. But if you put that story there, explaining who you are, where you are coming from, like Izzo is saying, people already know. There is a word I usually say to the people that I create content for, is that when you have done the work in your content creation, and you have defined who you are, what you represent, where you are coming from, who you serve, how you serve, what you produce, and how you produce it, by the time you are engaging with your client or your prospect, the next thing that needs to happen is the key, which is simply to pay to pay your price for it, because you already done the work. But if you have not done that, you are going to explain everything. And that is not going to be very useful for you. It's not going to work. So it is important that we take the time to, first of all, take care of the preliminaries, those things that need to be taken care of first, so that people know you. They know where you are coming from, what you represent. Why are you doing what you are doing? If you tell your story, you have taken care of all this before. All right, for time's sake again, I would like to say something, and of course, I will ask Izzo to contribute to that as a last contribution here, because time, of course, is that we cannot change it. We grow. Of course, we grow, but our audience grow too. When we grow and we tell story, what are we supposed to do? Can we just keep telling the same story, or are we also able to adapt? By that, I mean, let me explain before you get misunderstood. You might be in a business operating with a certain type of technology. Of course, technology, like you know this day, if you go to bed, chances are that by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, technology have changed. Where you can say, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change. No, I must do it the way that I've always done it, because this is the way it have always been done. That is a bad news. You are going out of business. So sometime the term adaptability is something that is going to come around often. And this is also about story and about those we are telling our story. When it happens, because it does happen, what are we supposed to do? So Izzo, the question is, how should we adapt to changing customer needs or the market need to remain valid in what we are doing? Okay, Izzo, before you respond, I want Rose to say something. Rose, go on.
I'm really thoroughly enjoying the conversation. Thank you guys for having me on stage. I just wanted to say, like, in terms of the personal brand, if you're developing a personal brand story, it's really important to connect that story that you're telling with the needs of your clients or potential niche audience, so that you address their pain points. And that's the whole point of how you connect with them, is when you address their pain points in your content and in the storytelling. And even when you're telling a personal story, you bring it back and connect it to the pain points of your customers or your niche. Then you are able to kind of solidify that you know what you're talking about, that you understand them, and that you have the solution for them to address that. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you so much for that, Rose. We appreciate that. We appreciate it. Of course, I don't know if another person wanted to say something. Of course, if you have raised your hand, we would have added you to the room. So that's it. What time also has gone. So Izzo, what would be your final take there? You have to do with how to adapt to changing customer needs.
Yeah, and I see you, Rose, and fantastic share there, Rose. The word customer means needs. That is the subject of that word, needs. Customers are customers because they are always in need of something essentially connected to you, depending on the product and the service you're offering. Using storytelling to introduce new products, the easiest way to do that is very simple. You need to account for the impact of your business on your clients. So if you can give a justified account on how much you have impacted on your clients and the feedback you have received over the time, that is going to build an instantaneous connection between your existing customers to be able to wait to, look forward to your announcements, because they know that your announcements are not always about your company or your services and your products. They're aware of the fact that your announcements are always all about the customers. They're always all about the customers. So to introduce new products and to meet their needs, you need to start from the existing connections, the existing information, the existing documentaries that you have already recorded, and convert them to relatable stories. They could just be in seconds, they could be in minutes. And then at the end of that production, you can talk about any new product and also express the KPI of that product to your potential clients and customers. This is because people are always about themselves, and there is nothing wrong with being about yourself. You need to understand selfishness, the role it plays on customers. People want to feel themselves first before they can even give you the audience, before they can receive your product. So you need to take care and respect their opinions, their emotions. You need to respect their ideologies by projecting those good messages. And then later on in the video or in your write-up, your productions, you can infuse the new information, the new content, the new business, the new wherever. This format works like magic. In fact, it was the format which was initiated by Toastmasters International. They are now in how many countries? Close to 300 and something. Like, they are almost across the globe. The same thing was the same concept was deployed by Elon Musk. The same concept was deployed by Dale Carnegie. The same concept was deployed by TEDx. So understanding the needs, understanding that customership is all about needs. They are not your friends. They are not your friends. Just see them. When you hear customers, see it as a box of people that needs to be taken care of. You know the way you take care of a woman, you know the way ladies take care of men as well. That should also interfere in the way you relate with customers. Be patient, respect them, and make them to feel like $1 million box. Just this magic is enough to introduce your new products, and I'm very sure that you're able to sell. But my final word is to all the personal brands and corporate brands listening to me here. Ensure that leveraging storytelling, that the rest of your business would be the best of your business. Thank you, Mr. Obehi, for having me on your platform, and God bless every one of you. Over to you, my friend.
Thank you so much, Izo. Thank you so much for that. You really nailed it. So there is no need to add too much to that, other than just so thank all the people that are in the room for your presence here. Like I often say, we're not taking that lightly at all. We respect you. We respect your presence here, because without you being here, we will not be here. We will not enjoy the company that we are enjoying here. We're enjoying it because you are there. You know, it's like a game. Everything and everyone is playing part in it. So thank you for being here. And please come around again. We are here every 2 weeks on this particular room to talk about our business storytelling, because we are really intentional about it. We believe that it is going to be useful and highly valuable for business owners who want to use storytelling to be able to connect and engage with their audience, because we see that it's one of the most important elements that is out there for you. If you use it well, you might not really need to pay a lot of money on ad to get people to come and connect with you, because you already know how to connect with them. Because like I said before, if it can work for many other institutions in the world, from churches to politics to just think of where human beings meet. The intersection is storytelling. If it can work for every other person and institution, then it can work for you too. If it haven't worked for you, listen to what I say. It's because you haven't learned how to leverage it. And that is why we are here, to tell you everything we know about it, and also to listen to people who are applying it, so that you can, because it can work for you. It's just that it haven't worked yet. So thank everyone here, and come back again next 2 weeks, because we'll be having another interesting conversation about business storytelling.